Hello, beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. Today, I have the pleasure of bringing you yet another interview with another wonderful, amazing soul, Valerie Adams. Valerie is a mindset and intuitive business coach for entrepreneurs and highly ambitious women. After her spiritual awakening in 2018, Valerie underwent her own transformation and woke up to her passion for helping others step into their power and change their reality. She loves supporting women with creating the life of their dreams, which includes awakening their purpose, healing, deepening their spiritual connection, attracting their dream partner, making a generous living from their passion, and rewiring their mind so they can manifest their desires quickly. And isn't that something that we all need right now, right? In this podcast, I love bringing to you new people, new perspectives, new points of views on how we are all awakening and changing, shifting from the 3D world to the 5D reality, which is where everything just flows and it goes easy and wonderful. And you find your passion where you feel like work is no longer feeling like work, right? It doesn't feel like that density of having to go someplace, responding to someone, doing something that is not in integrity with yourself. And this is just one more story about that. And I can't wait for you to meet her. So without any further ado, I will bring her in and you can say hello. So, how are you, Valerie?
I'm amazing. Just connecting with you and like being in your energy, I always feel so much lighter.
Oh,
So I'm
thank
good.
you. So glad that you're here in my podcast today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how was your life before you had your own spiritual awakening?
Yeah. So my life before my big awakening that happened in 2018 was very by the book and normal because growing up, I always wanted to fit in and be like everyone else. I looked different from kids growing up. And so I just always had this sense of I don't belong, therefore I need to try to make myself belong. So a lot of my life was spent, clinging to groups of people, a lot of people pleasing, being who I thought I needed to be to fit in. And I did all the things I'm supposed to do. So went to college, graduated in 4 years, got a corporate job, was moving up the corporate ladder, all the things that really looked good on paper. And it wasn't until it was probably around age 27 where I was like, wait, I have all these things. Like I have groups of friends and I live in a fun city and I get to go on fun weekend trips and I have a great job and all these things, but I just wasn't happy. I was deeply unfulfilled. And I had just learned about gratitude. So I'd be like, no, no, no. What are you thankful for? And just, temporarily focus on what was going well. But there was constantly this pit in my stomach of, is this all there is to life? And life started feeling like a hamster wheel. I think the biggest wake up call for me. Oh, and I call it my previous life. My previous life, I did recruiting. So I worked in corporate America. I did recruiting, which is so interesting because a lot of the things that I loved about, or I guess tolerated with that role, have supported me, past my spiritual awakening. So connecting with people, asking questions, hearing what people are saying between the lines. And the biggest thing that happened for me was when the company I work for did a reorganization and it moved me from San Diego to Nashville. And that is where my whole everything just really started over for me because San Diego, where I'm from, I had a lot of my family is there, friends. I grew up there. So I knew so many people. And maybe someone listening can relate to this. When you're from a certain area and you live there, a lot of your time is spoken for, like a lot of your free time. There's always someone you should go catch up with. There's always a family member to visit. Like your time is just very split. And so when I moved to a new city very unexpectedly, suddenly I was by myself a lot. And that's where I got to look at, okay, what do I actually want in my life? And I went on a personal development journey. Um, and that's really where it started from there, discovering myself, having my own really seeing within myself where I didn't think I was worthy. And the way that showed up was a lot of friendships that weren't authentic, working in a career that I thought, well, I have a degree, so I should be working in this. The biggest one was attracting emotionally unavailable partners and being single for a really long time, which interestingly enough, when I moved to Nashville, I thought that my dream partner would just be like waiting for me at the airport with a rose, like, okay, now you're in a new city and, your old city was the problem and now you're here. But what ended up happening was I took myself with me. And that was probably some of the deepest healing I did, was looking at where I had attracted emotionally unavailable partners.
Wow, there's so much there you just said.
Yeah.
Let me backtrack a little and just touch on some key points that you mentioned.
Yes.
So, like, one of the first ones that really spoke to me as well was like, I had everything. I did all the things I was supposed to do. I went to college. I got a corporate job. I was doing all the things. And yet I felt like there was something else missing. I went through the same exact thing. And if
Mhm.
you're listening to this and you're feeling this, that is a hint. That is like your spirit guides or your higher self or your God or, whomever the higher force that you believe in telling you this isn't it. Because so many of us begin right there in that, like, I have it all, everything that I was told I should have, and yet why do I feel empty, right? And I also love the part that you talked about going into gratitude, right? Because we think that, okay, let me just be grateful for what I have, and that's going to bring more. And yeah, it does help, but it's just bringing you to the next level of like, what else is really there for me that
Mhm.
I do not know about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like those whispers that came in, and another thing is that I didn't mention is a lot of my ways to cope with feeling unhappy was I would go out drinking every weekend, have wine by myself a lot of nights a week. I would go shopping a lot, like on my lunch break, I'd be like, let's just go to the mall, and I would buy a shirt, and then I would come home and go to hang up that new shirt, and I would see I had one exactly like it already in my closet. Like I was just so numbing, a lot of watching TV, scrolling to really distract myself from feeling. And that's where I feel like it's like that whisper keeps coming back. Wherever you go, it's like, there's more, there's more, there's more. So I'm sure you experience something like that too.
Yeah, I like that too because a lot of people think that, oh, let's say, let's go with alcohol, right? Let's say somebody is like really leaning heavily on the alcohol or in the drugs, and you're feeling like, well, that's the escape, but we don't realize that day-to-day life, like shopping or scrolling on your cell phone, right? Scrolling through TikTok or whatever social media, numbing yourself and really not doing anything through that time because that's taking our time, our space from connecting to the higher self, to that voice within us that's trying to guide us into a better life path that we haven't yet
Mhm.
chosen. So yeah, there's like so many things. Like some people are like just always busy or like always putting more on their plate, right? There's
Yeah.
more work, staying late, like not having time, or the people who get their kids to do so many things. So you're going from place to place to place. And there's like, how many things can you fit in one day? And it's part of that numbing of I'm not happy with what I am. But if I keep myself busy enough, or if I step into this space for long enough, I don't have to look at myself and see what's happening or what it is that I need to work on or move through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me too, being busy all the time. I remember it was Thursday and the weekend was coming and I didn't have plans. Like I didn't have brunch plans or didn't have plans with people. I would freak out because I was like, I need to have something to look forward to because I was so unhappy in my life. And it was that constantly staying busy and never, it was almost like I was scared to be with myself. And I think subconsciously I was scared about what I would realize. Like meditation used to scare me. Like I would hear about, we all have heard, meditation, it's recommended, but I was actually scared of what I would hear if I would go within. So I avoided meditation. That was like the last part for me to really dive into on my awakening journey. I did journaling and I could visualize because there was something for me to focus on. But meditation is what scared me because I was like, what's going to come in when I don't have a prompt or I'm not visualizing something? So it's interesting you brought that up with like the voices and the whispers you hear. It's kind of always there.
Yeah, I've also heard like some people are like go like into a cave for like a couple of days and it's just darkness and there's nothing there and it forces you to just be with yourself and not have anything else there. And it does create this huge spiritual awakening because you're forced for the first time to not have all of this um things that go all around taking away your attention from the inner voice, what's coming in from here. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other part, the last part that you were saying was that you took yourself with you. You brought
Yeah.
yourself with you to Nashville. And oh my gosh, if that is like so key, everyone should like really pay attention to this because how many people have had like let's say a relationship that is abusive and then they leave and they get into another relationship which ends up being abusive and then it goes to the next one which is abusive and it's like you're repeating the pattern and you're like, oh, why do I have such bad luck? It's like the common denominator
Mm,
here is you,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You are attracting this. You are allowing yourself to be in this space with someone who treats you XYZ way because there's healing that needs to happen from you. And once you heal you,
Mm,
then the partner shows up in a better way because you are in a better place. So the partner has to match your frequency.
yeah. But that's the part that people don't want to look at because it's easier, and I can speak from my own experience. It's easier to blame it on the city you live in. Oh, it's all the same people, oh, it's the guys. Oh, no one my age wants this. And so that's exactly the story I was stuck in because I was living in San Diego and I, had a lot of hurt from, an ex and things not working out, me not going out on dates with people past like the first date, feeling rejection. And so it was safer for me to go, oh, well, there's no good guys here in this whole city. There's millions of people. Cause that's, it's like, then if I were to say, oh, it's probably me, that would have hurt more. And so I needed to have that experience of the universe going, okay, actually, you're picking up your life. You're moving to Nashville in a month, and me having expectations of, oh, thank God, now this part of my life will be sorted out because now I'm leaving the problem, which was the city I was living in. And the exact same thing happened. I got right on the dating app, still, not getting asked out on a second date, like feeling very anxious all the time. And when it didn't work, that's when I finally was like, okay, it's me. And it was interesting because I prayed about it. I used to pray like, bring my person to me. But what I realized was, God, please help me help myself because I know it's something within me. And I don't know if I asked, like, show me a teacher because I had no idea where to look. And I remember going in a Facebook group and a love coach was in there and she made a post and posted something, and I click on her profile. She's running a group program. I look at some of her free videos. I join her program. Within a day, my prayer was answered and the teacher appeared. And so that was really big for me to really see like, okay, when you're ready for that help, the people always appear on your path.
Oh, that is amazing and key. Such a key statement, right? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. I have felt the same thing as well. It's kind of like you're looking, you're wondering, you're looking at videos, reading books, all the things. And when you're really ready to like actually do the work, then that's when the teacher appears, when you ask for
Mm-hmm.
it. So amazing. Okay, so now you're in Nashville, you figure this out, you're just starting to go within, and then how did that happen? How did it change?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing was me diving into personal development, which I can't even remember my life before then. I'm like, what was I focused on if I wasn't focused on growth and healing, because before that it was all about avoiding and numbing. And the biggest thing was having my own transformation, really healing my mind, starting a business was very spiritual for me because I always wanted to help people. And I feel like for anyone listening, your gifts that you have, they've been reflected back to you your whole life, but you didn't realize they were gifts because they come so naturally to you. So some of the things people would tell me is like, oh, you're so empowering. You know, I always feel after talking to you, I always feel like I can go do it. Oh my gosh, like you ask great questions. You're so encouraging. Like, wow, you're so wise. All those things. And I would get these natural highs from helping people, helping my friends. I was always the person people would go to for advice. And I thought, because I was still in my linear thinking, well, the only way I could help people is I'd have to, go to school and learn how to be a counselor. And me and school just don't mix, like tests and all that. And so when I saw other people building a business, running a business where they're helping other people, it was the greatest day of my life where I realized, wow, coaching exists. I can start a business. So that was the first awakening, is having this healing within myself so powerfully, learning how to manifest very intentionally and seeing things shift in my life so quickly, starting my business, and then at the same time working with a love coach and healing very deep traumas, healing a lot of fears I had of men and being rejected and not being worthy enough. And like that was really the big changes. I feel like there was life before and after. What I will say is that the spiritual awakening journey, it's not this pretty sexy thing. I think when people think of like, oh, ascension and growing, you think of what? Oh, the milestones and things getting better, but a lot has to fall away. A lot of what wasn't working and what wasn't authentic had to strip away. So one of the most challenging things was a lot of friendships falling away. And I take responsibility in the fact that when I look back, I wasn't my authentic self in those friendships because I got to be around a lot of people. Everyone has to like me. And so I would do whatever I had to do to be accepted because that was the way I survived. And once I started choosing me and choosing my own growth and saying no to things, a lot fell away. So some of the biggest things that happened was me really learning how to choose myself, me really healing deep within myself. And the two biggest physical manifestations was not just starting my business, but being able to take it full time, just 9 months after launching, being able to leave my career, and attracting my partner who I've been with for 5 years, the only, emotionally available person I've ever been with, the only securely attached person I've ever been with. And relationships are an awakening in themselves. I think the misconception is, oh, once I meet my partner, then I'm good, but it's a whole different level of healing that happens in that experience. So those were the biggest things. Also, I was pretty close to getting fired from my corporate job because what happens when you awaken and you wake up to your power is what you're doing that's not in alignment starts to feel very hard. So the job that I used to be able to do like so quickly and easily, the most basic tasks felt hard. My energy felt very drained. And I think that happens to a lot of people. Once you wake up to what's available for you, there's that contrast. And so I got put on toward the end, like a performance plan, or they disguised it as like a pre-performance plan. And I really saw the writing on the wall. And it was like, okay, so we get to go all the way with your dream. And so that was the biggest lesson for me, is like what you're meant to do, you will always find a way to make it happen. So that was really huge.
I love that. I mean, you have like your corporate job, you have secure thing, your career and everything, and then you like awaken to this idea of like, there's something else there. I'm gonna go for it, and you just do it. You just go all in. You let go of it, and you have your own business, and are able to completely let go of that corporate job within 9 months. That's really quick.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm very, very proud of that. Because of who I had to be, I had to completely change my identity. I couldn't see myself as, oh, I'm this beginner trying to get her business off the ground. I got to step into the identity of like, no, I'm a CEO and I run my business full time and I have a full roster of clients. Like I stepped into that before there was any physical evidence. Like I would visualize myself when I would wake up in the morning. The first thing I would do, I'd sit up in bed and close my eyes and imagine the day as if I was a full-time coach. So even though I had to get my ass up and go to my corporate job, I would spend 5 minutes visualizing like, oh my gosh, I'm meeting with clients today. Oh, I'm going to do this and this today. And it really felt like I was so in that vision that it almost felt, when I would go to my regular job, it was almost like, wait, this isn't my life. Like that's my life. Like it felt so real. And so that was really big.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's exactly what, everyone who's working into manifestation, they talk about, like, be and act as if you already have it, as if you've already done it, as if you've already arrived to that goal. And it's so important to do that and to hold that vision, even though you're still going to the job that you don't like and all this stuff. I was working as a teacher, and I remember feeling that heaviness as well, and feeling like I'm no longer making a difference here. I felt like I'm not making a difference. I might have been, but I felt like I wasn't. And it felt really heavy, but I was able to like look into it, like, okay, well, these skills, just like you said, like the skills that you had in your corporate job helped you in your business because you're using a lot of those skills in your business. And for me, I felt the same thing. Like what I do now is I teach, and that's what I was doing back then. I just have a different type of client. And I am my own boss as opposed to needing to, answer to specific things that feel so heavy. Like, how many people
Mm.
here have ever had like a review at work, right? Or like all these people come up and they tell you how your performance is, and according to your performance, this is the salary that you can get, and you're like there like a little child being told what you're good at and what you're not. It's like,
Mm,
right? How heavy
that's
does that
true.
feel?
That feels really heavy. And it's hard not to take it personally,
Yeah.
especially when you rely on that for your livelihood. And that probably does something to your nervous system, right? Because if you get feedback that's not positive, that could send you into, fight or flight, where you're like, oh my God, what if I, don't improve this and I lose my job and I don't have a way to take care of myself? Like
Oh yeah, I
that,
remember way back when I was going for my master's degree. I was working at a flower shop as a part-time thing, and I remember that the reviews were coming, and I remember the anxiety of the people around. Like, I never really had this anxiety because I just look at things differently. But all the people who work there had this anxiety of like, my review's coming, my review's coming. I better do things right. The other thing was like, let's say you're working and then a boss will walk in and they're like, oh, I need to do everything right. And this also, I
mm,
saw this in my job as a teacher as well, that people will be teaching is like, oh, they're doing observations, and so I have to have everything right. And I used to always think, why don't you just do everything right all the time? Like, that's what I
yeah.
did. But people, they go into this state of, I'm gonna do the best I can while I'm being watched, and while I'm not, then I can just be myself or do the things my own way. And that creates such anxiety when you do have that
Mm,
review, when you do have somebody, coming in to watch you, which again makes you feel like you're the child, and this, you know, authority comes and tells you like what you're doing wrong, as instead of
yeah.
what you're doing right.
Like an audition or a performance.
Yeah, right. It's
That's so
exactly it.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel so heavy, like just thinking about it, that I could never go back to that again.
No, and I remember being in school and when it's like the principal would come in and observe, or another higher up teacher, and I would think like, oh my gosh, I wonder how my teacher's feeling with that person just sitting there writing notes about them.
Yeah, like the whole entire system is just so, it's not there to lift you up at all. It's there to
Mm,
make you feel even less than and even smaller than you already think you are. And the purpose of that really is to keep you small from having the confidence of stepping into that little voice inside you that's saying, hey, there's something else, there's something better, there's something more that you can do. And it does not have to do with sitting here and responding to these people around you,
yeah. And
right?
I
Like,
feel like too, that's such a good point because in careers, you're not like in a job, you're not encouraged to, oh, dream big, but it's like you can dream about getting promoted to this position within our company where you could be making more. It's like that's where your aspirations get to be. And yeah, I bet that's a theme in like a lot of places where, yeah, I remember getting reviews too and not feeling empowered, like feeling relieved after, not empowered, feeling like, oh, okay, I'm not doing, okay, they said some good things like, oh, maybe I'm on track to be a manager one day, like, oh my God. And then feeling relieved, but not feeling that power of like, whoa, I can really do a lot here. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting you say that.
Yeah. Well, I just got this and I'm just going to share it because it's coming through again. Like we are now stepping into this place of not needing that certification. And I know this might be controversial, but this is really what's happening. Like we no longer are needing that paper on the wall, that certification, that thing that says you're able to do XYZ, because we are, when we awaken, we are actually gathering the information that we already had all along through all of our lifetimes as a soul that remains within us. And
Hmm.
so when we are awakening and we begin to listen to that voice within, we are taking all of those certificates that we had throughout all these times, and we just know how to do it. So,
Ooh.
it's just so empowering because I remember when I first started down this path of spirituality and teaching this, that there were so many people saying, did you get a certificate? Did you have, did you get a certification for that? And I just knew, it's like, why would I need that? Like, I don't need a paper that says I can do this, because the information is coming from within, and that's source,
Hmm.
right? That's the source
Yes.
of you, of who you are. So it's just, we're really moving more and more into this space of tuning into yourself, gathering your power, your knowledge, your gifts, your abilities, and sharing them. And no one can give you a paper that says you can do it. I mean, you can take something just to have it there for the 3D world that needs that, right? I need a certificate. Where did you study? It's like, but this type of um, work and awakening really has to do with the wisdom that is already coming from within.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even just with working with you and opening up my spiritual gifts more, it really did feel like a remembering, especially with the mediumship. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, you remember I had a really, I, I got in my head about it because it did come so easily. And yeah, and it was like, wait, I haven't had formal training around this or whatever. And I remember when I started opening up psychic mediumship readings and announced it to my people online, which that was so scary. And I remember someone messaging me, um, shortly after being like, oh, not like how long, but it was like, oh, have you always had these gifts? And I could, we can feel people's energy. You can tune in. And it felt like a hole poking a little, like, how
Mm-hmm.
long have you been practicing? And I noticed myself the way I responded. I was like, well, I've been training under, I've been under mentorship for this for a year. And it's like, wait, the people who are going to be drawn to me, they're not going to question or, judge me in a linear way where it's like, well, where were you certified? How long have you been doing this? How much practice have you had? And so it was just interesting, the part of me that still wasn't fully secure responding like that, because now if someone asked me that, it would just be like, I don't even know what I would say, but I wouldn't feel that proving energy. And I've done a lot of readings now. I've connected with a lot of people's loved ones on the other side. So now it's just that inner knowing. But I think at first, you want those certifications. And I have certifications. I even feel weird saying like, oh, master coach, master NLP practitioner, because I'm so much more than that. And it's like, I almost don't identify with those. And it's interesting because I got those certifications. I went through that training after I had already been coaching a lot of clients. And it came from this overflow place of, I want more tools. I want to have more available to help people with. But out of the hundreds of people I've worked with, no one has ever said, I am hiring you because you are certified in this, or hey, I was on the fence, but I saw this is your certification. I'm in. How do I pay? That has never happened before, ever.
That you said that, when I first started, I did a Reiki thing class, because I also thought, hey, I need something that people will recognize as, oh, I know Reiki, or I understand Reiki, so I'm going to do that. I think that I've used Reiki twice, and it was at the very beginning when I just got that. I just used Reiki like I'm going to send Reiki, but I always ended up using just energy healing and quantum energy healing, and like not really leaning into the Reiki as much. And now it's like it's there. It's, like, again, it's something that's there on my website, but I never use it unless the person comes and asks for it. And I haven't had anyone ask for it really.
Yeah, and you would probably like maybe do a little bit of it, but you have so much of your own stuff. So it's like maybe that structure helped you. It can help you feel good. It gives you that confidence of like, oh, I've been through a training on this, or I had to pass the test on this. But it's so interesting because I know a lot of people who that's not what they're certified in. They don't dominantly use that because they gave themselves permission to evolve and expand and create their own processes and stuff. And when you think about it, the people who we get certifications from or do these trainings from, they had that idea flow through them and they created structure around it and decided, okay, I'm going to help teach this to other people, and they get certified. And I think it's our duty to create our own thing from that. And I believe anything we invest in, we take a little bit from everything. We take, even if you sat in a class for like 3 months and you only remember one thing, it's like that's what you were meant to take from that, is that one thing. And so I just think it's beautiful how we all have different gifts, and we can't really pinpoint, how we've developed these skills because it's so beyond just learning it from someone else.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your what you do now in your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. So my business has been through an evolution. I feel like, in the last 5 years, I've really evolved as a person, and I've had different awakenings happen. And my first big awakening really was, realizing I could create the life of my desires via my thoughts, via my intentions, like creating all these powerful rituals. So that's how my business started. And then I shifted into dating and mindset coaching. And it's really, I would really say it was for single women who their intention was, I want to attract my dream partner by way of working on myself and healing myself, because my belief is like you get to create that solid foundation first, because if we're attracting what we are, not what we want, it makes sense why we attracted and entertained emotionally unavailable, narcissistic, toxic partners, because there's a part of us unhealed that was a match for that. And so that was really fun, a lot of deep work I did, and I still work with clients on a one-on-one basis around that. But it was in 2022 that something was inside of me where I'm like, wait, I have gone through so much with my own business and the evolution of that and awakenings within my own business. And I was really excited to work with women around growing their business and the inner work around that. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple years. I would say I'm very it almost, and I know like we're not supposed to say, oh, it's like hard to say what I do, but that I have struggled with that. And that's not something most business coaches are supposed to say. It's supposed to be, oh, pick your niche, know it. And I have really been like, okay, well, how do I accurately describe this? Because people end up working with us not because of the words in our bio, but because of the energy they feel, the embodiment they feel from us, how their soul feels when they read our content and our words. And so I've struggled to be like, I am this. So what I can say is I do mindset coaching, intuitive business coaching, as well as strategic business coaching. And I love working with women who have a vision, whether it is to build their own business, whether it is to attract their dream partner, whether it is to radically up level and change an area of their life. I love working with women to go deep in their inner world and create an internal like foundation to powerfully call these things in, and not just call it in and get lucky, but actually sustain it. and really go through their own personal transformation in that. So it really just depends on the focus. Right now, I'm working with a lot of business owners, and I also love working with women who are at that point where they're like, I'm ready for bigger, I'm ready for more. I don't know what that looks like. I love helping people really get to that point, because we all go through that where you're in the void space of what's here, what I have now, it's no longer fulfilling me, but I don't quite know what that next thing is. And that's where I feel like the most beautiful work is. So I love doing that. I also have a podcast where I love helping people through there, different types of programs, masterminds, and I just love coaching so much.
I love that. Yeah, it really feels your energy feels so light and so expansive that you really can help so many different people who have like who are coming from different parts of life, right? Like this is what I need right now.
Mhm.
So and it's so needed. It's so good to hear that. And I agree with you with like because I didn't know either what to call myself either. I call myself an energy healer for like the longest time. Then I say, I'm a spiritual mentor. It's like I don't know what to call myself really, because we when we go down this path, we awaken into so many different places, and then you're like, what am I? We really are everything. We are everything all at once. And when you are calling in your clients who are attracted to your energy, they're attracted to your energy for a reason. You don't,
Mhm.
neither one of you needs to know what it is. You just need
Yeah.
to know that, hey, we're a match here. So what is it that you need? And I can help you with it.
Yeah. And what's so interesting that I want to reflect back to you is, I've been working with you for a year and a half. And if someone were to say, what are all the things Valeria has helped you with? I would have a giant list. But then if someone were to say, okay, label the type of, what's her title? What I would have such a hard time with that. So I feel like when we feel that within ourselves, our clients feel that too, because they know the dimensions. And it's like, how can I, sum this up in a title that's supposed to universally make sense and fully encapsulate what I do? So I just want you to know that on the client side, I feel for you too, where like, wow, she does so much. It almost feels like I'm limiting you by saying, oh, she's this and that. And I also, can say she's helped me with all these things to kind of back that up. But yeah, I think a lot of people go through that where it's hard to put a label on it.
Yeah, it really is. And I really think the fact that we're still looking for like what do I call myself or what is it that I do really still linked to that three-dimensional world that
Mm,
needs the certification, that needs the title, that needs the wording, when words are actually quite limiting, right? Because like,
yes.
right, you're like, oh, I'm a teacher, okay, and then people's minds immediately go like, what kind of a teacher do you teach, like grade school? And you're like, oh, not that type of teacher. Wait, that's not what I meant, right? Because the words are so limited, and depending on where you grow up in the world, it has a different meaning, right? And it has a different type of respect, according to where you are in the world. And it has a different type of weight, like this is something. And I think when we're trying to find like, oh, I'm this and that, we're kind of like you said, putting ourselves in a box that fits more the 3D world as opposed to actually I just am.
Yes. Yeah. It's so interesting because it reminds me of like childhood too, of trying to fit in and just being told what you are. You're a fourth grader, you're this, you're that. And then it's like
Yes.
when we feel this big expansiveness of what we do, and then it's right back to the 3D, we'll put it in words so that the mass people can understand and recognize this. So whenever someone asks me, like someone who's not in this space, like, what do you do? I just say, oh, I'm a life coach, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's something they've maybe heard before and I don't have to explain. But I do get a little flustered because I'm like, I'm like, let me just give them what I think is the acceptable thing to say, because it really, it really does go back to, okay, I have to put a label on this so that this is acknowledgeable, right? So that this is something accepted from the
Yeah.
masses.
Yes. My husband actually, like when he says, what is it that you do? I don't know what to tell people. I'm like, I'm an energy healer. And he's like, I don't understand what that is. I don't know. So when I say, well, I'm a life coach, he's like, okay, I get that. I'm like, okay. And it's weird because to me, the words life coach don't have the same meaning as spiritual mentor or energy healer. Like to me, I know what those other two words mean, but like a life coach to me, like for me, it doesn't really encompass who I am. But for him, it was like something tangible that is like, okay, I get that. I can understand this. I can say this.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, he's like, I get this. Okay, I can tell my colleagues this. Like, okay,
Yes.
this is the good. Now I know how to properly answer this question when people ask. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Right. So funny.
Me.
What are you working on right now? Do you have any offers that are coming up for you that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. So right now I have a really fun private coaching offer. I really got back to my love for working with clients one on one because of the deep, just how deep we can go. There's just a lot you can do and different dimensions to working with someone one on one. So I have a really fun private coaching offer called Identity Shift. And what we're doing is we're really focusing on that specific area of your life that you want to have a radical shift in. And spoiler alert, when you work on one area of your life, it trickles into every area of your life. But we're really going to zoom in on what it is you want to create in a certain area. So that could be calling in your dream partner. It could be getting your business to a certain point. It could be stepping into your purpose. It could be trailblazing within the company you work for. I'm love working with ambitious women who know that they're meant for more and they're meant to be experiencing, having, doing more than what they currently are living. So that is one offer that I have. And I also have a mastermind where I work with business owners who really want to grow their business, but not just from a place of, okay, more customers, how do I make more money? But we're really focusing on the inner work as well. It's actually called Spiritually Ambitious Mastermind. So it's for women who they're not interested in building a business just from working and efforting and force. They really want to learn how to leverage the spiritual world, learn how to leverage their intuition, learn how to work with their mind and doing the mental and spiritual work behind the scenes to grow their business with more ease. And those are pretty much the biggest things I have right now. I have a course library, I have a podcast that I love, and I'm just in a really fun place where I am really in a season of wanting to do deep, high touch work with people where last year it was a lot about programs and I'm teaching you and there's a lot of people that I'm speaking to at once, and this season just feels really good to be doing deep work with different clients.
Amazing. And I love that name too, that spiritually ambitious. I love that name.
Yes, because I feel like yeah, it's about marrying the two because being spiritual is amazing, but when you lean too far into, just the spiritual stuff, like there's action that's missing, there's structure that's missing, there's, you could be spinning your wheels, but you're praying and you're, doing your cards and all the things. And then when it's too much on the ambitious side of, okay, make it happen, hustle, without the spiritual, that's where you can really burn out. That's where you can only get so far. And when you really learn how to marry the two, and it's like divine action, spiritual action, that's really when you'll see the most fulfillment and success in your business. So that name channeled through, I'm sure, in the shower where everything comes through to me. It's either the shower or a walk. And yeah, that was just the name that really came through.
I love it. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. I will say that it's never too late to step into your gifts. I remember having a lot come up for me when I was really accessing my spiritual gifts with you, where I thought, well, shouldn't I have always known this since I was a child? Or shouldn't I have always been practicing this? Because I would think of mediums that I would see on TV, or I'd read their books where they would remember seeing the ghost of their grandma when they were age 6. And I didn't really have anything tangible like that. But what really happened was doing the deep healing work with you. It was like the more I healed, the more I cleared the space, the louder my gifts got. And so for anyone out there who is, wanting to access more of their gifts, like, yes, it's about learning. And I would argue to say that the gifts are already there, but they're probably buried beneath programming and trauma and the voices we hear and kind of like the boxes that we were talking about in this episode. And so if you're wanting to grow your spiritual gifts, I would really start with, okay, what can I heal? What can I look at how can I create my dream reality from way of letting go of everything that I thought I was up until now. And I mean, going to plug you, Valeria, you know, are such a master at that. And you've given me a space to heal. And you helped open up a whole sector of my business where I love doing intuitive guidance sessions with people. And you really helped me bring those gifts online, really trust myself. And life has just gotten so much easier leading from intuition and knowing that I have it within myself, but I always, you know, I'll come to you and say, "Hey, this is what I'm getting. What do you think?" And when people really wake up to the answers are within yourself, like you become really unstoppable. So I felt really called to share that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And where can people find you?
Yes. So I hang out on Instagram. My Instagram handle, it's not my name, it's at the mindful babe. That's a name that came to me channeled probably in the shower when I started my business. And I just love that name. So I hang out on there a lot. I have my podcast. It's called the Mindful Babes Podcast. I also have fun on TikTok now. I love making videos on there. And my name's at the Valerie Adams on there. So I love hanging out in all those places.
Awesome. And we will also put all of those handles on the description of this
Yes.
video and this podcast so people can just find you there as well. Well, amazing. I can talk to you all day. This has been such a wonderful talk and chat so that people can really
Yes.
step into themselves. And yeah, so thank you so much for coming.
Yes. Oh, I have a free gift that I wanted to give,
Sure.
that I forgot to mention. I have these journal prompts that I created, trust the process journal prompts, and they're really designed for if you're in a challenging time right now where you don't know how things are going to turn out. Maybe you're in a place where you're making a pivot, you're in a void space, and you want to really lean on faith. You want that empowerment. These prompts have helped so many people get through tough times. So the link, I'm sharing it with you. It's in here. It's called Trust the Process Journal Prompts.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. So make sure you guys you go and get that link and use those prompts to get yourself started. I mean, I love that. I love that having the free gifts and all this stuff
Yeah.
to get us started. So amazing. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this chat. If you like what you're hearing, please like, follow, make a comment, send something, and share with other people so that they will also get the messages that you are receiving here if you like this. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.